Podcast. This is the second episode of the podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking all about weight management with cystic fibrosis. So that means how to gain weight, how to lose weight, how to maintain your weight, some of the hurdles that CF throws at us when it comes to managing our weight with CF. I'm your host. I am Brian. I have lots of history when it comes to weight gain and weight loss, but lots of history when it comes to ups and downs of my weight with CF. Just in the last couple of years, I've gained 57 pounds. So I think I have a lot of good tips and knowledge to share with you guys, how weight gain works, how weight loss works, how we can overcome some of the obstacles CF throws at us. But anyway, I think it's going to be a really, really good topic. This is a super important topic, super popular topic in the CF community, right? Like we know that our weight really correlates with our lung function. So we've seen that as we typically gain weight and become healthier and healthier, our lung function will also increase. And then we've seen that when we get sick and our lung function kind of starts to decrease, well, one of the first things that also decreases is our weight, right? I think we probably have all experienced that at some point. So weight is super important when it comes to CF. It's probably one of my favorite topics to talk about and probably one of my most asked questions I get on social media. But anyway, before we get into that, I thought it'd be fun to start sharing, a little bit about myself, what's going on in my life with my CF, with my family, etc. Each episode, just kind of get to know me over time. I want you to know that I am a real human being. If you don't follow me on social media, I'm not just like the CF robot or knowledge, whatever, right? Like I actually have a life. So, but no, nothing's crazy, really. We bought a new house recently. And so right now I've kind of thrown myself into DIY projects. I don't know if you guys about there have a house or you do DIY, but Marina's my wife. We actually, we just got married too. I'll have to share that story sometime soon too. That's all kinds of fun stories to share. But we ended up wanting to add a second row of like shelving in the closet, and went to Lowe's and our Home Depot, our hardware store basically. We went there and we were gonna get the wire shelving that the closet already had in it, and I was like, oh, you know what, like, how cool would it be if we would make our own like wooden shelves, like legitimate looking like shelving? What if we do that? And so I kind of went down this rabbit hole of buying all these things that I thought I needed to do that. And gosh, I did not know, guys, how hard it was to take out wire shelving. The seller or whoever put the wire shelving up put like the really deep anchors that split at the end. So like we had to pull all those out, and we had to like spackle the walls, patch all the holes. But I will admit though, like we bought these rods, we bought the wooden planks and whatnot. We added 2 rows of wooden shelves all the way around the closet. It looks phenomenal. Like, I don't mean to brag, but I'm still impressed if you can't tell. So now I've kind of gone down that rabbit hole. Like, oh, what else can I build? Oh my God. So, now I'm trying to like get ideas for my office. I want to put some like floating shelves up, and, Marina was like, oh, we need a new coffee table for like, the little family room where we watch movies. I'm like, oh, we do need a new coffee table, but what if I build us a new coffee table? So anyway, I've gone down that rabbit hole recently. With my CF though, fun little journey. Some of you guys have been following me on Instagram about this. I am switching to a different brand of digestive enzymes. So I actually did not know that there are different brands of digestive enzymes. That's new to me. I don't know why I didn't assume that, but anyway, there are. I also didn't know that you actually are supposed to change your dosing throughout your lifetime. So I don't know, for some reason in my mind, it was like you're born, you got diagnosed with CF, and they're like, hey, Brian, you have pancreatic insufficiency. That means you have to take digestive enzymes every time you eat. Here you go. Here's your dose. Have a great mucusy fun life. I didn't know. But anyway, apparently, yes, you need to change your digestive enzymes. That's going to get really hard to say. Really hard to say this episode. But you need to change your dose over time. And so I started explaining this in this episode. This is actually the 5th time I've recorded this episode, just so you know. I've had my own podcast struggles. I didn't know there's different microphones. I'm learning a lot if you guys haven't been catching on in this past few months. I've really learned a lot in my life. But one thing is the podcast episodes. Like I had a different microphone I was using before. I didn't know there's like a condenser microphone. There's a dynamic microphone. There's probably so many more, but these are the ones I've learned recently. So I had a condenser microphone, which means it catches like everything. So when I record this whole episode, I talked a lot about enzyme stuff. So we're actually going to move the enzyme stuff to another episode. There's enough for like its own topic, basically. But anyway, yeah, like I listened to this episode back and I was really hyped up on Monster and everything. I was really talking fast. Okay. That was the first thing I noticed. The second thing was like, wow, I'm spending a lot of time talking about enzymes. And the third thing was you hear everything. You heard my dogs barking upstairs. You heard if someone knocked on the door. You heard me like drinking water the whole episode. And then like there could be a fly on the wall behind me and it could let out a little burp and you'd hear it. So I said, I gotta fix this. This is obnoxious for me to listen to. I can't imagine what you guys would feel like. So I'm hoping this episode turns out much better now because I have a new microphone. But anyway, so yeah, lots of learning going on. The enzyme stuff, I will tell you why in the other episode. I think it's gonna be probably episode 4. Probably is when I'll do the enzyme topic. But I'll tell you why I'm switching brands, how to switch brands, why to switch brands, how to know when you should like discuss to your care team if you should have a different dose of digestive enzymes. So I'll explain all that. But point is, guys, I think when it comes to enzyme stuff, it's probably one of the most important things for our cystic fibrosis. Because if you think about it, food is what helps us stay alive, right? We all need food. And that's what helps our bodies fight off infection. That's what helps us grow. That's what helps us build muscle. It's what, helps us, keeps us going. But if we don't take our digestive enzymes, we literally don't digest our food, AKA we don't break down our food and absorb our nutrients. So if we don't absorb our nutrients, how are we supposed to do any of that stuff? So that's probably one of the most important topics I think there is when it comes to CF, or I shouldn't say topics, but one of the most important things we can take. But anyway, again, that will be another episode. So, another cool thing I learned recently was the Vertex drug. So we all know Trikafta came out in the fall of 2019 fall. Trikafta changed the CF world. For some people, it doesn't work so well, but for a lot of people, it really does. I've had a crazy, just like my life has just freaking completely changed. 180 degree flip since Trikafta. So I can't wait to share all those details with you guys and things I've learned, etc. But point is, we know Trikafta is 2 pills in the morning. These are the important pills too. So if you were to miss a Trikafta dose, they kind of tell you, well, make sure you take your morning pills because that's the new medication that is different than the previous modulator drugs that came out from Vertex, over the past several years. So anyway, and then you take 1 pill on Trikafta at night as well. That's like the standard dosing, I believe. So they are working on a medication that you take once daily. I don't know if that means it's 1 pill or if you just take it once daily, because right now Trikafta is morning and night. But anyway, it's supposed to be a little bit more effective than Trikafta as well. I think it's higher levels of chloride transport in the cells, whatever that means. So obviously I don't have all the information on it. I just caught a little snippet of it and I thought that was kind of cool. So I'm super excited to hear that they're continuing to make medications for the CF community, right? Like Trikafta wasn't like okay, we're done, have fun. Good luck, guys. So that's really, really cool. And it now has this new medication that they're coming out with. It sounds like I think it's in phase 3 studies, maybe. It's called Vanzacaftor. I think it's Vanzacaftor. So it finally got its own name, right? So pretty cool. Anyway, that's the latest news, guys. So before I jump into the main topic of the episode, remember, this is not medical advice. I am not a doctor nor an expert in medicine. I'm only sharing my perspective, opinions, and experiences. This is for entertainment purposes only. All right. Now that magic is out of the way. Excuse me. So, all right. Big breath in. Weight management with CF. So, all right. We got to lay some ground rules. All right. So when we talk about weight in this episode, the way I'm going to explain this, weight management works the same for everybody, whether you have CF or not. And I know before you freak out, you're like, it does not, you don't understand. No, listen, I understand. I've had like a crazy weight journey. But anyway, I get it, guys. But the point is, like, weight works the same for everyone. Just we all have different obstacles. So CF presents its own obstacles when it comes to weight gain. And I'll explain why. But before I get into that, I want you guys to understand that I am talking about weight gain as far as the scale has gone up because I have gained more fat or I have gained more muscle. So I'm not talking about like, hey, I have super bad digestive issues and my food's not digesting and like it's just stuck in my stomach and that's why the scale's gone up. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about, if you have a mass or a tumor that you have unfortunately produced, in your body like that. We're not talking about that. And even water retention. So we all retain water throughout our lives, like every day. And it fluctuates like crazy every day. Funny story. I'm constantly trying to push my weight up and up. And I shouldn't admit this, but when I have my bad depressing days, like my down days, right, I will sometimes try to make my day a little better before I go to bed, and I will go weigh myself before bed. Now, this is a no-no because you have all the food in you from all day long. You have all the liquid in you from all day long. Like, this is not a true weight, okay? And but I know that I will weigh more than I really do because of all those factors. So like, okay, Brian, let's just see what the scale says tonight. And for example, I think it was like 170 pounds one night. And I was like, oh, yes, that probably means I'm like 160, 6 pounds or whatever, on a normal time of the day or early in the morning. And, the best time. So if you guys did not know, the best time to weigh yourself is in the mornings because you don't have any food in you, you're very low on liquids. So you should get out of bed and you should go to the bathroom. And then with no clothes on, preferably, because your clothes all weigh different weights, no clothes on, you step on the scale. That is the best time to weigh yourself if you're going to track your weight and see how you progress over time, whether you're trying to gain weight or you're trying to lose weight, it doesn't matter. That is the time to weigh. Okay. So the next morning I wake up. And I'm like, okay, let's see. I bet it's that 166 pounds. No, guys, I lost 7 freaking pounds overnight. Okay. That is not, you're not going to lose muscle or lose fat like that overnight. That was mostly water weight, but 7 pounds. Isn't that crazy? I was 163 pounds. Anyway, it was more depressing than I thought it was going to be. But, anyway, so I'm not going to talk about water retention on this episode. The only thing I'm going to say about water retention is it is going to be a factor on the scale. Okay. And so it's best not to really read into every single day's weight. If you guys are going to track your weight, don't freak out today and then celebrate tomorrow and then freak out the next day. The best thing you really honestly, the best thing you possibly do is find your average weight for the whole week. And then, so, you add up basically every day's weight and then you divide by 7. That's what average is, just in case you guys did not know. But anyway, and then you want to compare that to the following week, the next week, and then the week after that. So that's really the best way you can do it. But, anyway, water will really make your weight fluctuate a lot. The best thing you do for water retention is to drink more water. I know that sounds like ass backwards. It's not, I promise. The more water you take in, your body's going to be like, oh, I'm going to have water coming in pretty regularly. I can already see that. So I am willing to let go some of this excess water. So I promise you, drink more water. You'll be less bloated. It works. And also, if you have a very salty meal, you will see that you retain a lot more water that evening or even the next day. So that's just water retention. It's what happens. But okay, now that we have the ground rules out of the way, let's talk weight gain, weight loss, CF, all the fun stuff. So, okay, why is it hard for people with CF to gain weight? Well, I'm going to touch on these and I'll explain further details after I explain how weight gain and weight loss works. But our enzyme dosing, right? We know that is a problem when it comes to CF and weight gain and weight loss. Infections with CF, so lung infections, lung exacerbations, that will affect weight gain and weight loss with CF. CFRD, so CF-related diabetes, that will also affect weight gain and weight loss when we have CF. So the most important thing, guys, when we talk about weight gain during this or weight loss, anything about weight in this episode, we are assuming that you are taking your correct amount of enzymes with every meal. Okay. So a lot of people message me on social media and say, "Hey, Brian, how are you able to gain weight? I'm eating so much food. Like I'm eating all the time, man. I just don't get it." And one of the questions I will ask is, okay, are you taking your enzymes? And you would be surprised how many people are like, "Well, yeah, for the most part, yeah, I sometimes forget, I'll forget, or sometimes I just don't feel like getting up and getting them." And it's like, oh, okay, all right. Well, we can't talk about weight gain until you actually take your enzymes, because our enzymes is what actually takes the food, all the food that you're putting in your mouth. Your digestive enzymes is what takes that food, breaks it down, and lets your body absorb the nutrients. Okay? So like digesting your food, that's what that process is. So, so that's the first hurdle. Okay? So during this episode, we are assuming that you not only are taking your enzymes, but we are also assuming that you are taking the correct dosage of enzymes. Okay. So my weight history, you might say, "Okay, well, Brian, you act like you know all this stuff." Well, what's your history? So I, as a young chap, was in high school. As always, I'm right at 5'7", just maybe a little smidgen under. On a good day, I'm like 5'8". I'm standing tall. I'm proud. On a bad day, I'm hunched over. I'm sad. I'm 5'6". So like right at 5'7" is kind of my average day. Okay. I was in high school, played sports all my life. And then in high school, around 17 years old, I decided I was going to start weightlifting. So I was, all right, I'm going to bulk up, man. I'm going to get a lot of muscle here. Oh, gosh. Now my camera battery's dying. Let me plug this in. Hold on. All right. I plugged it in. I hope that fixes it. But anyway, I was like, okay, I'm going to start lifting weights at 17. I'm going to bulk up. Okay. But the truth is I couldn't really bulk up that much. I only got the 131 pounds, I believe, one day. But I broke the rule. I didn't weigh myself in the morning. I weighed myself in the middle of the afternoon. I already had lunch, already had breakfast, etc. So 129-ish pounds in high school. Okay. Went to college, got super sick. Had over 30 hospitalizations in college. I was in the ICU. I was on a ventilator, all this fun stuff, right? And my lung function ended up dropping to 21%. And that is in early 2019. But the whole time in college, I really struggled to get above 123, 125 pounds. And then, and that's because I got so sick all the time. My body was fighting infection all the time. I didn't have much of an appetite, all that kind of stuff. Oh, let me write this down because I want to make sure I talk about appetite. Let's see on my notes here. I learned that I need to have a guideline when it comes to these podcasts, because if I don't, I forget what I tell you guys. And then I erase the whole podcast. I wouldn't be surprised if I already explained this in the beginning of the episode. I don't remember. But I don't remember what I tell you. And then I'm like, oh, crap. And now I erase the whole podcast and re-record it. And I just never release it, basically, is what's happening. So anyway, I have a guideline now. So, okay. But yeah, where was I? College. So I was 123, 125 pounds. And I could never gain past that. And even in after college, in my adulthood, I was still salty and surviving, right? And I couldn't gain. I've always lifted weights. I've always worked out. And it was so sad because I always worked out and I was always in the gym more than any of my friends all the time. However, I was super cut. Don't get me wrong. Like I was like 6-pack abs. You can see every muscle in my body, super cut. But I was never the biggest out of all my friends, right? Like I never could put on muscle mass. So it was so sad. But anyway, go up to 2019 and like I was eating 4,000 calories per day trying to put on weight. And I would log all my calories, I'd track all my food, and I still could not put on weight. Okay. And then Tricapta came out. It corrected a lot of things in my body. And I was able to put on weight pretty rapidly, I guess you'd say. So early 2019, again, I was like 118 pounds, 21% lung function. Tricapta came out that fall, and my weight, I was tracking this on Instagram for you guys all the time. My weight was just going up like daily, if not like for sure weekly. And like, I was so excited to like keep seeing it go up. And I hit about 160-ish pounds, in 2020, the middle of 2020, I believe. And, anyway, since then, I was like, okay, now I have to actually start pushing harder to gain weight. And now I'm 175 pounds. So I've gained about 57 pounds since that early 2019. So that's kind of my weight history. My body fat percentage is right around the 11% mark. So most of my weight, luckily, is muscle. But you can't, so guys, we won't talk about this in this episode, but you can't just gain muscle, okay? Like it is very, very, very difficult and very rare to put on, 10 or 20 pounds of just straight muscle. You have to put on fat while you're putting on muscle. That's just the way it works. But again, I don't want to get into the whole muscle stuff this episode. But if you guys want, again, remember to ask me questions. Email me questions, what you guys want me to answer on the podcast. I'll answer them. And I will try to come up with topics as well to make out of episodes, including, how to gain muscle with CF, et cetera. But anyway, this is how weight works. So that was my weight history. So how weight gain and weight loss works is the same for everybody, as I said, but CF presents its own hurdles. I'll explain that. But let's go over how it works real quick, okay? So your body, guys, like everyone asks me, oh, what do you take? Like what powder do you take? What pills do you take? Like no. There's no magic. There is no magic. Really? And I'll explain why there's no magic and what diets and all that stuff really is. But, okay, so how weight gain works. Let's start with weight gain. Your body has a BMR, a basal metabolic rate. So this is a number, okay? And what this number means is this is how many calories your body burns per day doing nothing. Okay, if you woke up and you laid in bed all day, you did nothing. You did not get out of bed. You didn't just absolutely nothing. Your body still has to work to survive, right? Like you guys might not, you might be like, oh, I didn't do anything today. I didn't get out of bed. Yeah, but your body still did a lot. You have digestion. You're blinking your eyes. You're thinking, like you're breathing. Your lungs are expanding. Like your body is still working to survive. So your BMR number is the amount of calories your body uses per day just to survive at your current frame. So your current size, your weight, your height, get it, current frame. Okay. So then what that means, okay, let me just go over that real quick. So let's just say, for example, your BMR is 2,000, okay? That would mean that your body burns 2,000 calories per day just to survive. You're doing absolutely nothing. So if you wanted to maintain your weight, are you serious? My camera just died because it's too hot, apparently. I'm putting this video on YouTube is why I'm also filming on my camera. But anyway, so if you wanted to if you want to maintain your current weight, you would have to eat, guys. You'd have to eat 2,000 calories. So if you wanted to maintain your current weight, you would have to eat 2,000 calories per day while you're doing nothing all day in bed, just to maintain your current size. Okay. So then you have your TDEE. That stands for total daily energy expenditure. So your TDEE is your BMR number but it also takes into account your lifestyle. So that means, are you super active? Okay. Are you really sedentary? Do you just sit at home all day, like a home office? Or are you super active? Are you an athlete as a job? Or do you have a blue collar labor job, maybe like construction or something like that? So this is a number that kind of takes in your lifestyle, if that makes sense. And that will be a number that kind of like does a multiplier thing to your BMR. Okay, so for these purposes, we want to take in your lifestyle into account, right? So we are going to use the TDEE number. Now, so this is again, this works for everybody, CF or not. But if you have CF, you now also have to worry about your degree of pancreatic insufficiency, your severity of it, as well as your lung function. So you can find a BMR calculator, a basal metabolic rate calculator online for free. And that takes into your height, your weight, your age, your gender. You can also find a TDEE calculator online for free. And that does the same thing, but it also takes in your lifestyle. But if you have CF, you're going to need to ask your clinic, your healthcare team, what your TDEE is, or at least your BMR, what that is. They do have the formula that takes into your lung function and your pancreatic insufficiency. So your dietitian, which is part of your CF care team, should have that formula. If you guys don't have a dietitian or they don't know that, please let me know. Like, email me and I will try to ask my dietitian for the formula, and then I'll share it on the podcast so you guys will at least have that formula. But anyway, so that's super important, right? Because a normal person's BMR, no matter if they're the same height and age and weight as you, a normal person's BMR and TDE is not the same as yours because you have CF, and CF has these other variables on top of it. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So then, how do you gain weight? All right, it is, guys, I promise you, it is as easy as this. If you're taking your vitamins, you're taking your digestive enzymes you're supposed to be taking, then all you have to do is you take your TDEE number and then you add more to it. So you have to eat in a calorie surplus to gain weight. What does that mean? Well, calorie surplus means that you are eating more calories in a day than your body is burning in a day. So let's say that your BMR, right, is 2,000 again. Well, let's say that, your TDEE number is 500 more than that. So 2,500. So that would mean that if you don't eat anything all day, your body needs 2,500 calories per day just to maintain your current weight. So if you wanted to gain weight, what do? You need to add calories on top of that. So a good rule of thumb is to increase by 300. You could say 500, that's kind of aggressive, but I would increase by 300 per day. So that means that every single day you should aim to eat 2,800 calories per day, right? 2,500 plus 300 is 2,800. So you should eat 2,800 calories per day in order to start gaining weight. And you should do this really for at least 2 weeks until you decide whether it's working or not. So after 2 weeks or 3 weeks even, if the scale has stopped moving, then okay, you plateaued. And what do you do then? Well, once you plateau, that could be 1 week for some people, that could be 5 weeks, that could be 6 weeks for some people. But once you plateau, then you need to add 300 more calories to it. And this is the part that sucks. This is the part that I hated, because I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay, I'll eat 4,000 calories for the rest of my life. I'll just keep growing. No. As your body gets bigger, it needs more resources to maintain that weight. So as your body gets bigger, you will automatically need more calories to maintain that weight and even more calories to grow bigger. I hope that kind of makes sense. So, but again, the best thing you can do is weigh every morning, take the average weight for your week, and then over 2 or 3 weeks, compare that average weight. Is that average weight increasing? If so, you're doing things right. If not, either one, maybe you're not being as consistent as you should be, or 2, maybe you need to add more calories to your daily calorie goal. So that's how that works. Now, you might say, well, okay, I don't want to gain weight. I want to lose weight. And there are now CF patients, post-Trikafta period that are wanting to lose weight. So what you do is the same thing. You need to find out your BMR. You need to find out your TDEE. But instead of adding calories to it, you take away calories. So in order to lose weight for anybody, you need to be in a calorie deficit. And what that means is you need to consume less calories in a day than your body burns in a day. So if your TDEE is, let's say, 2,500 again, okay, well, then you should try to eat 300 calories less than that. And again, I would start at 300 increments. You could do 500, but it really is probably not the healthiest. It's kind of aggressive. So maybe start at 300, even maybe 200 would be okay. And say, okay, let's just say 200 less than that. So 2,500 minus 200 is 2,300. Okay. So if you eat 2,300 calories that day, but your body is actually going to need 2,500 to maintain your current weight, which is your TDEE, well, guess what happens? Your body still needs 2,500, but you're only giving it 2,300. Well, there's 200 difference, right? So your body's going to have to pull resources from somewhere in order to try to survive and keep on living. Well, this is where your body will start pulling those resources from your fat storage. And that is how people lose weight, or that's how people burn fat off. Your body is actually pulling resources from your fat storage to use as energy in order to continue living and continue surviving. So that's how that works. Now, just as I explained weight gain, guys, your body will lose weight like this. And again, you should try to track this every day. You should take your average for the week and you should compare week to week. Okay. So I would give it 2 or 3 weeks until you decide, hey, I'm still losing weight, or hey, I've plateaued. Okay. And then once you have plateaued, again, you can decrease another 200 or 300 calories per day. Now you might start playing this out in your head and say, well, hold on, Brian, like I can't do this forever, because you're going to get down to like 500 calories a day, which is not healthy at all. That's not what you want to do. And so you're right. You can't do this forever. So what you can do is, let's just say, for example, you said, Brian, I really don't want to eat any less than 2,500 calories per day. Right now, that's what I eat, and I can't imagine eating any less. Well, okay. You don't necessarily have to eat less, but you have to get under that TDE number. So what can you do? Exercise, right? So if you go on the treadmill, you can wear, your Apple Watch, or you can go on the treadmill, your Fitbit, whatever. And that all these things should tell you how many calories you have burned. So for example, if your TDEE is 2,500, okay, and you eat 2,500, well, your weight's not going to change. You have satisfied that calorie goal for your body to maintain the same weight. But if you were to go on the treadmill and you were to walk or run, it doesn't matter. As long as you just do cardio. If you were to do some exercise and you do that until the treadmill tells you, hey, you have burned 200 calories. Well, that's the same thing, right? Your net calories is now actually 2,300. That's almost like if you just ate 2,300 calories per day and you had that 200 difference still. So you can kind of see that there's 2 variables to play with. And if you're trying to lose weight, one variable you play with is how much food you take in. And another variable to play with is how much exercise you want to do. And you can play with those so that way maybe you don't have to eat any less. If you really enjoy eating, that is a way that you can choose to not eat less, but still continue to lose weight. Now, you might understand that if you do that way, there could be a point in time where like you're on the treadmill for like 2 or 3 hours, right? Because you're trying to get less and less calories. So you'll see that it's not realistic. So you kind of have to juggle both of those variables at some point in your weight loss journey, if that's your goal. So I hope that makes sense. And then the other thing I want to talk about real quick was appetite. So some of you might say, well, Brian, I have no appetite. Like, I'm just not hungry. I get that. So if you're trying to gain weight and you're trying to eat more food and you're just not hungry, what do you do? So this sounds crazy, guys, but one thing is, and I promise, like, I'm not saying this is going to work for you. I'm saying this works for me, and I give it a solid try. When I drink more water, when I hydrate properly, like I'm drinking water all day, I get hungrier. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing is, if I am increasing my calories to a new calorie goal. So if I have eaten 2,500 calories for the past 2 weeks every single day, I'm like, okay, Brian, the scale has stopped going up. It's time to add 300 to that. And now I'm trying to eat 2,800 calories, but I'm just not really hungry. Like, I don't want to eat more food. Then I will add a little bit more food to each meal throughout the day. So I eat like 3 to 5 meals, and I'll add a little bit more food to each meal. And I promise, after 2 or 3 days, so in a way, you're kind of forcing yourself just a little bit, but after 2 or 3 days, it's like my body just expects it. Like, my body just is like craving that extra food now. It's so weird. But every time that like I don't feel like eating more, I try that approach, and lo and behold, in a few days, I'm like, okay, this is easy. Like, now it's starting to become routine. And then also like our mood really affects our appetite as well. So when I'm having like my down days, I just don't feel like eating. And like, these are the days that like you really need to try to just like be on a schedule. I've set timers before for my meals, but be on a schedule and just try to like make yourself eat that extra food that you need to eat. And when I'm happier, when I'm having a great day, for some reason, I'm more hungry than normal. I'm like, yeah, let's go eat. So I get that, guys. If that's your issue, I get it. If you don't eat, if you don't hit your calorie goal today, well, maybe tomorrow you try to eat a little bit extra to make up for that. That you kind of balance it out. But again, the more important number is the average for the week. That's what the best kind of gauge you can use from a week to week basis. So now that we know how weight gain and weight loss works with CF, going back to those hurdles, we can see why we know why enzymes would affect our weight, but infections, our body has to use energy to fight off infections. That's its number one goal. That's like a survival technique. So naturally, when you're sick, your body is going to burn way more calories than just your TDEE. Like, your TDEE number has now gone up because your body is working so hard every day to fight off infection. Right? So like we would have to eat so much food in order to even gain weight while we're sick. And so that's why, like, when, before Trikafta, when I was sick all the time, I was eating 4,000 calories per day. And I'm like, why the hell am I not growing? And it's because my body was fighting so hard every day. If I were to eat 5,000 or 6,000 calories per day back then, I guarantee I would have gained weight. Now, would I have wanted to eat that much every day? Probably not. I didn't have an appetite. I did not feel good. I didn't have a lot of energy. So no, it probably would have sucked, right? But it's possible. That's my point. The CF doesn't make it impossible to gain weight. CF makes it difficult to gain weight, and that is why. So I hope that makes sense. The other thing we mentioned was CFRD. So CF-related diabetes. Well, if we don't keep our blood sugars under control, then we actually don't utilize our nutrients either. So if our blood sugars are always high, we just pee our calories out. So that is why, like, we need insulin to help bring down our blood sugars to a normal range. So ideally, every time you eat, if you eat sugar or carbs, your blood sugar spikes, it goes up. And then we want, in a 2-hour window, we kind of want our sugars to go back down to a normal range. And then we can eat again. But we don't want to eat and they spike up. And then we give it an hour, maybe 2 hours. We eat again right away. It just spikes up again. And if our sugars are staying elevated, then that would be a sign, 1, our body's not producing enough insulin. So therefore, we might have CFRD. And 2, that we're not actually able to absorb and utilize all our nutrients, and we're probably peeing a lot of them out. So this is another reason why people with CFRD have a hard time gaining weight or maintaining weight, because they might not have good blood sugar control, or good diabetes management, I think is what they call it. But I hope that makes sense as well. So anyway, guys, that is how weight gain works. That's how weight loss works. And that is why CF presents the hurdles it does when it comes to weight gain and weight loss. The best thing you do, again, is get the average for the week, see your trends week to week. At least give it 2 or 3 weeks before you decide, you need to change your calorie goal. Because, again, like, water fluctuates a lot, our water retention, that there's so many variables that, like, you really just don't want to try to just panic every day and change your calorie goals every day, right? Because then, like, you're just going to be lost. It's going to be chaotic. So just being very precise and very consistent is very important. And right now, just so shed some light on things. I eat 3 to 5 meals a day. I eat 4,600 calories per day right now, which I thought was a lot. But actually, like, you know, you're going to say, oh, well, I eat so much right now. Start tracking your food. See how much you really eat. And I use MyFitnessPal. There's several apps out there that will help you track your food. But start tracking your food to really see how much you actually eat. And yes, you might eat a lot of food right now in your mind, but there's always going to be someone else eating even more than you. So it's really like, it's not that crazy to try to eat more. So for example, I thought 4,400 was a lot or 4,600 was a lot. But my fitness coach I had a year ago is much bigger than me, and he was eating 5,300 per day. And then I just read that The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, we all know The Rock, he supposedly eats 10,000 calories per day to maintain his size and his frame. So, you know, everyone has their own weight journey and goals and all that kind of stuff. So that's my point, guys. Like, there's no such thing as like, it is impossible to eat more. I cannot possibly eat anymore. You don't understand. Like, no, I understand. It is. I'm not saying it's easy. It is difficult. I understand. But it is possible. So set realistic weight goals, by the way. My weight goals is just, you know, each month I'd like to be a few pounds heavier by next month. And that's not like, oh, I'm going to drink a lot of water and be, no. Like literally, like, you know, either it can be fat or it can be muscle, but I just try to be a few pounds heavier than I was the month before. And that means like every day to day, I'm a few pounds heavier this month than I was last month. And that's kind of my goal. Over a 4 or 5 month period, you know, I might say, okay, I would like to be 5 to 8 pounds heavier, maybe if that's possible. I feel like it's kind of a stretch, but that's kind of my goal. So right now I'm 175 pounds. It is early November. And I'm hoping by the end of the year, I can be 180, or I'd be ecstatic if I was 185. But, you know, we'll see. And so the point is, set goals, set realistic goals, and try to be as consistent as possible. And if you guys want more tips on like what to eat, how to eat, let me know. I'll talk more about that. The short version is the denser foods are the best. So like red meats, pastas, fish, you know, chicken, the rice, potatoes, these like very solid, dense foods, I have found kind of pack on the best weight, it seems like. Liquid calories, candy, junk food, like they just don't seem to stick to you. And one analogy I wanted to use when it comes to weight, guys, before I sign this episode off is think of a sculpture, right? Like a clay sculpture. People are like, oh, well, that sculpture looks great. Now, can you make it twice that size? What are you going to do? You know, like you're going to say, oh, well, I need more clay, right? Like you need to pack on more clay to this sculpture. And that's how weight gain works. Like you have to put more food in your body. That's how it works. There's no pill. There's no powder. There's nothing that you can put in your body that's magically can make your body grow out of thin air. How? It's not possible. So you have to put more resources, more food in your body, just as if you were to make that clay sculpture bigger, you'd have to add more clay to that sculpture. So I hope that makes sense. I always thought that was a really good analogy on understanding like there's no pill or diet that works. And when it comes to diets, what they actually do, like, so for example, there's one diet that says you can only eat between the hours of 12 p.m. noon and 7 p.m. at night. And so the way that diet kind of works is you're only going to be so hungry during those 7 hours, right? So you're not going to, if you don't allow yourself to eat any other times of the day besides those 7 hours, well, a lot of times you're going to start to lose weight because you just can only fit so much food in your body during that time because you're only so hungry. And so that's actually how that diet is working. There's no like magic about the diet. Like you can name it whatever the hell you want. You can eat. Well, you can almost eat whatever the hell you want, but you know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of the diets put constraints on you to cut down your calorie intake without you really focusing on the actual calorie intake. That's how that works. So anyway, yeah, guys, that's the food I'd recommend. We have these good shakes when it comes to CF. We have the Ensure shakes, the high calorie, high protein shakes. I have a few high calorie shakes I like to have. I'll go over those more in another video. I don't want to run past time here. We're already about 45 minutes in. So That's it. I didn't get the questions this time, so I have a few written down that you guys have asked me. The one I see right now that's sticking out is, why have I gained so much weight since starting Trikafta? Great question. Really ties into this video. But I can go really far into depth, I feel like, with that question. So okay. So the next episode I record, I'm actually going to answer that question as the primary topic. And then, it won't be as long as this, right? We've already explained all the meat, the guts, the meat. You know what I'm saying? We've already explained the bulk of it in this episode. So I'll go over that question for next episode's topic, and then we'll have a lot more time for other questions as well. So, all right, guys, I hope that makes sense. I really try to explain it very thoroughly. Go back and re-listen to it. Really just try to comprehend it. This is how weight gain works, how weight loss works. So if you know how to do it, then you can definitely do it, guys. It might be difficult. It's kind of hard to stay on task. Tracking your food, I will warn you, is very tedious. It can get very annoying, but it's the way to do it. Be measurable, be precise, and keep your eye on the goal. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good one.